Hi, everybody. Marty Rubin from the Argyle Theater, and I am back for another segment of Marty's Corner. And this is exciting. We have 3 guests today. 3 guests. We got the 3 Jersey boys here. Oh my, let's go. So, first up, we got Evan Ross Brody, who's playing the volatile, little reckless, very entertaining, lovable bad boy of the 4 Seasons, the Jersey boys. Welcome. I'll give you all a chance to introduce yourselves later. Weston LeCrone, who is playing the musical prodigy, the immensely talented, incredible hit maker of songs, Bob Gaudio. And then we have Milo Alosi.
There you go.
Alosi,
There you go.
okay. Who's playing the quiet 4 Season guy, the glue, a lot of ways to the 4 Seasons, and to the Jersey boys. And then, of course, the person we count on to hit the low notes. And you really hit those low notes beautifully.
Wow, thanks.
All right.
I try.
Yes. In the hit musical, Jersey Boys. So I want to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves. Just say where you're from and when you started in theater. Evan, why don't you give us a start?
Yeah, my name is Evan Ross Brody. I'm from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I started in theater as a little kid. My mom, big theater person, big artsy family, always around instruments and music as a kid. You know, until I was 12, I was going to be a baseball player, you know, as we all were.
Right.
And then...
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. And then theater bug caught me when I was in high school real hard after doing Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, okay.
And then still my favorite musical to this day, and then here I am.
Very nice, very nice. Weston?
Yeah, hi. I am from Indianapolis, Indiana originally. Now I live in New York City. And I first kind of grew up with a love for Disney animated films. I just loved the music and the colors and just everything about them, honestly. And that kind of translated into wanting to get involved in theater. I really wanted to be a voice actor first.
Oh.
But yeah, that kind of translated into theater, and I started taking theater classes and voice lessons, and
Here
that was
are.
kind of that, yeah.
Hey, my name is Milo Alosi. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but
All right. I was born in Brooklyn.
All right. I relocated to Massapequa Park, Long Island, so I'm a local. Hey.
Local.
Yeah. And I started in theater probably around 16. I hadn't seen a Broadway
That was
show.
a little late.
Yeah, it was a little late, and yeah, but I was hooked right away. I excelled super quickly, and yeah, I saw Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and I was like, that's gonna be me.
You were hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked. Yeah.
So, Evan, when you're the leader of the 4 Seasons, or the early names, For Lovers, and all the other names that you were, your character, Tommy DeVito, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty, and the music industry is, could be tough, and you're a terrific entertainer and performer, but your character has demons. What is it like for you to play a character like Tommy DeVito, who has such an edge to him?
I think the most important part of playing a character like Tommy DeVito is understanding that Tommy is a real person with real feelings, and that the trap is just playing him as the villain, and understanding where Tommy comes from. You know, Tommy is the youngest of 9 children, grew up in the Great Depression. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade because they couldn't afford food, and he was stealing milk off people's porches. So he grew up in a world where you kind of had to fight tooth and nail to get where you are.
Right.
You kind of had to have that sense of deep confidence in yourself that you were gonna get it right every time. Even if you messed up, you had to get it right. If you make $100, you spend $100, you make $100. And that mentality doesn't work when you're millionaires.
Right.
But he kind of always treats it like he did when he was on the streets.
Yes, very.
And I think understanding where he comes from is the key to playing a character like Tommy, and because he's not the villain to himself, he's always right. He's always trying to take the group in the right direction. They just don't get it yet.
Right. I think that's very well said. That's very well said. So, Weston,
Yeah.
you're playing Bob Gaudio. Bob Gaudio to me is like, I'm a Met fan, baseball fan. You want to be a baseball player? So when I was a kid, Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden were the young phenoms that came up, oozing with talent. Okay, here comes Bob Gaudio. Okay, this young guy, a musician, a performer, an entertainer, a songwriter. It seems like he just gets hit songs at will. Is it a little intimidating for you to play a role like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, especially when you have his daughter in the audience. His real,
Yes,
real
Danielle
life daughter.
was in the audience a couple of times already.
Yeah, she's very sweet, and it was an honor to be able to perform the show for her. What a cool thing to be able to do. But yeah, I mean, I think because you want to do him justice and the story justice, but then you're also putting your own spin on it and putting yourself into the role, which is really what, is why you get hired to do things, because you're putting your essence into these characters and into the story.
Yes.
So I think that keeps it like fresh and alive and different from other Jersey Boys that people see, is because we're the ones playing the four seasons.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it is an exciting challenge, I think, to do something that so many people are familiar with, and a person that people know, and
Right.
someone's music that people know. But I think that's also just part of the joy of doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
So Milo, your character is, not only do you have to be a great performer, but you have to watch this guy, Tommy DeVito. You're his roommate, you're his friend. You got to keep him out of
they're
trouble.
close. They're best
So,
friends. Yeah.
So it's like a dual responsibility that you have.
Sure.
What was your biggest challenge playing this part of Nick Massi?
I think the hardest part about playing this role is that he is quiet. He's like deceivingly quiet,
Right.
especially in Act 1. I don't have that many lines. Tommy's doing all the talking. We meet Bob, who's also very headstrong, and that's the hard part, is that that's very easy to fall flat. It's kind of easy to fall in the background, which Nick kind of talks about in the show.
Yes.
And how am I, as the actor, still going to give a performance even when there's no small parts, as we say in
Right,
theater. So
right.
how am I going to interact? And it's those small, even in the silent moments where I'm not speaking, where I need to fill that in how I interact with Tommy.
Yes.
We need to see that camaraderie. We need to see, even in the small moments. So if Frankie is singing, there's definitely stuff going on,
Oh, yeah.
And it's some of my favorite parts, is finding new moments with them.
Yeah.
Even if the spotlight's not on you, it's part of our job is to fill that and still emote what's going on, what's Nick's point of view. And he
Right.
has a point of view, which you'll see in Act 2.
Yes. That's all well put by all of you. When you guys are out there doing your thing, I mean, the hits just keep on coming. I mean, Ragdoll, Walk Like a Man, Big Girls Don't Cry, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, Begging, Stay, Come On Marianne. I mean, you could go on and on and on. I mean, and you're cooking, okay, and you're tearing it up out here, and you feel the audience riding with you. What's that feel like for you, Evan?
It's the high that you can't get enough of with this show. It's even the songs I didn't think everybody knew the words to, everybody knows the words to, and
Yes.
they'll let you know from the audience too. They're singing with you, and so it's another high every single time we get to be on that stage and feel the audience's joy.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes. And Weston, when you're in that moment and you're watching everybody do their thing along with you, do you ever just take a step outside of yourself and say, "This is awesome"?
Yeah, like when we're performing all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think now that we're into week 3 of performances, we can do that a little bit more, because I think that first week or two we're still getting our footing and focusing more on the choreography and where we need to be and the staging. But I think now that it's a little bit more in our bodies, we have more of that freedom, which is really fun. So I'm excited to see kind of how that grows and evolves
Right.
as we continue the run, and just being able to have more fun with it and just enjoy each other up there.
Yeah,
for sure.
no, it's really something. When Milo, when you're out here, and I mean, there's so much that you all have to do. I mean, it's not just the singing, it's not just the harmony, it's the choreography. What did you feel was the hardest for you to learn? You've never played this role before. You
Yeah,
both
no.
played this role before. What was the hardest thing for you to learn out of all of those things?
It's hard. I mean, definitely, you know, my what would you call it? Achilles heel would be choreography, and then, but there comes a point where like, you learn the choreography, you know it, even if you don't know a part or it's unclear. The point is, our job is to sell it.
Right.
To sell it. If you mess up, keep going. You gotta sell it.
Right.
Because, and we discussed this with and with our director Todd Underwood, who is what an angel. He really wanted us to focus. Once we got into performances, he was like, visit the joy. These guys, if you watch videos from on YouTube of these guys from when they're performing, like smiling ear to ear, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something he really wanted us to focus on. So, you know, after we opened and got the jitters out and we're like, oh, did I do the right step? Is that the right harmony? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, you got to throw it away. Because if we're not feeling the joy and interacting with each other, they're not going to feel the joy.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I always relate everything to sports. And obviously sports is live,
Yeah.
and, you know, and what you're doing is live. And you both rehearse. There is a script here when there isn't a script per se in the sports. But, you know, like for instance, I'll give you for instance, in baseball, the bases are loaded and a batter's up and there's one out and the guy hits a ground ball to the shortstop. Okay, everybody has a part to do. Okay, the third baseman runs to third because maybe the shortstop's going to flip it to him for the force. Most likely, he's going to go to second. Second baseman's got to go to the bag, and the guy's got to throw the ball to him up by his eyes because he needs to get in throwing position quickly. Okay, first baseman's got to move to first and get his foot to the part where the ball is coming so he can stretch. What I'm saying is everybody's got a movement. You guys, so you come out here, all right, and it's not just singing, you know, stay, you know, you're moving your legs, you're moving your hands, you know, you're gesturing, you're grabbing the mic and pulling it back. Sometimes before you even say a word, you know, and you're spinning and you know, all of that stuff. So if you don't, you rehearse it, but at what point does it become so natural that you don't have to think about it anymore? Like it's a little bit what you were talking about. Yeah.
I think like the similarity between the two, like yes, there's a script and then there's not one, but everyone practices technique.
Right.
You know, behind the scenes, what are you doing in preparation for it? So I think that's similar. Also, another similarity is that they're both live, and yes, you don't know what play is coming, but you don't know if someone's going to go up on their line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to be on it, and that's the kind of fun of seeing live theater. You don't know what kind of performance you're going to get that day.
Right. Weston, I mean, all of you guys are very young. Were you? Yeah, absolutely. It's all relative. For me, you're very young. But Weston, did you grow up enjoying the Four Seasons? Did you find out later, or did you just, you know, hear it on the radio, or like when were you aware of the Four Seasons?
Yeah, I found out about them much later, honestly. I feel like I didn't really grow up listening to the classics, as people might call them, or just, that generation of music. My parents were my mom was a big fan of the Bee Gees, and gosh, what else did we listen to? Well, whatever it was, we weren't really a big Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons family, so I didn't get introduced to it much later, and the story much later too.
Right.
So it's been interesting to become more acquainted with it over the years and learn about these guys and all of their amazing, you know, talents. It's really
quite a
fascinating.
backstory to all of these guys. You know, Evan, I told you this opening night when I saw you. You really embody the character. You all do, but like I was a little afraid to walk up to you. You're so tough, you know. Like I don't want to mess with you, but
It's all acting.
He's a
big
softy. But like, what do you have to do to put your game face on? Because you got to play this character with an edge.
I think it comes down to the work and understanding where your character comes from. Because at the end of the day, you bring yourself to the character, but then you remember, like when I think about where my character's from, I think about Tommy really stands in his power, and like cool. I start with that as my base. How is his posturing different than Evan's posturing?
Yes.
Does he talk with more certainty than I talk? Cool, I'm gonna add that layer in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Why do I talk with this certainty? Because it's where I came from. And I think the prep work that goes into that comes from your base level of preparation, line-wise, everything you do behind the scenes, the same way you would do in sports. So I think a lot of that comes down to doing the work behind the scenes to understand your character, and to understand that Tommy is to really live in the moment and understand that Tommy's always living in the moment.
Yes.
He's always living in the moment, trying to make that next $100, trying to get the next thing right. Even if it gets it wrong, he's going to get the next thing right.
Right.
And if you try to think anything past that, you're not playing Tommy anymore.
Yeah, very, very true. I have to ask you guys, the fans out there would kill me if I didn't ask you guys. You such beautiful voices, such harmony. Could you give us a little snippet of one of your favorite songs from the show? Just a little bit for everybody to hear.
It's hard to do without Zane.
I'm not playing
But
Zane. I'm not playing Frankie. I can't do that.
I'm gonna do, really? You sure? Just give it a try.
There goes my idea.
I'm gonna do this. One thing you sow brings a tear to my eye. Snippet.
Hey. Are we going individually?
Let's do it. I did.
Okay.
You want backup singers?
No, we want to. Is there a harmony we could do on?
Oh wait, what if we do trance?
No, trance is the worst one.
Well, we need someone we need someone to get a piano app up.
Do you have it?
No.
It's hard to do when you don't have the key in your ear.
All right. Well, take it from me. Take it from me. These
You're
guys
welcome.
cook out here. They cook out here. All right. So you want to come out and see this incredibly talented crew of the Jersey Boys and the rest of this great cast. Come on out. We're playing straight through Wednesday to Sunday, straight through to April 6th. And we can't wait to see you for Jersey Boys at the Argyle Theater.